Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
Goodbye 2024 and hello 2025. The preparations, celebrations to new resolution.
Make it about family, make it about the year ahead, and that's good.
More than 100 extra officers tonight to help keep people safe.
The excitement builds this New Year's Eve in Vancouver. Also, raising a glass. The Okanagan wine industry toasts to resilience after a devastating freeze this year.
We have less than 1% crop of grapes this vintage, so we had to do something drastic.
And a big year for women's professional hockey, what the momentum means for young players.
My favorite hockey player is Sarah Nurse and Natalie Spooner.
My favorite hockey player is Dara Gregg.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Baneet Braich and happy New Year's Eve. 6 hours to go until 2025. Well, Vancouverites are getting ready to ring in the new year, but in the absence of any major public celebrations, it's up to individuals to make their own celebration plans. Sorb Sandhu has the latest on the preparations for the final night of 2024.
The last time Vancouver rang in the new year with fireworks was 4 years ago. And despite the city trying to shun its no-fun image, there's still no public New Year's celebration, leaving residents to fend for themselves.
I would want more events, probably, maybe fireworks. That would be nice.
I think there's been a few things this year that have shown that we can have big public celebrations and they can be fun and safe and enjoyable.
Some are happy to make their own celebration plans.
So we do have like a couple of parties planned tonight, so like mainly with the family.
Make your own celebrations, dude. Make it about family, make it about the year ahead.
People are expected to congregate in downtown Vancouver as hotels, bars and restaurants prepare for one of the busiest nights of the year.
We see places like Granville Street, Yaletown, Gastown, places like Jacopo Plaza really fill up with people as the night moves towards midnight. So we're deploying extra officers, more than 100 extra officers tonight to help keep people safe. We want everybody to reach 2025 safely.
And if you're gearing up for a night out, he advises to plan transportation ahead of time.
We encourage people, if you're coming into the city, plan ahead, plan a ride home. There's lots of safe ways to get home, whether it's an Uber, it's a cab, it's C-Bus, it's SkyTrain, Canada Line.
TransLink says it expects to be a lot busier than usual within Metro Vancouver. 52 extra buses will be on the roads and extra staff will be working, with TransLink offering free rides after 5 p.m.
During those hours between 5 p.m. on New Year's Eve and 5 a.m. on New Year's Day, all the fare gates at SkyTrain and C-Bus stations will remain open and customers will not be required to tap their Compass cards or use any other payment methods.
Outside of Metro Vancouver, BC Transit will also be offering free rides on its public routes beginning Tuesday evening to make sure everyone arrives home safe in 2025. Sorb Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
And John Rustad has a busy year ahead of him as BC's new leader of the official opposition. Katie DeRosa sat down with the BC Conservative leader to talk about his party's surge in popularity and the polls and how he's working to stitch together a big tent party.
By any standards, BC Conservative leader John Rustad has had a remarkable year. He went from leading a party of two to riding a Conservative wave that ultimately saw the collapse of BC United. And now he's leading the official opposition. Rustad is not content to remain in opposition, however. He says he'll take any opportunity to topple David Eby's NDP government, which has a bare majority of 47 seats, plus support from 2 Green MLAs.
I mean, obviously they're in a majority situation. They're likely going to want to hold on as long as they can. We'll see whether or not we have an opportunity to change that outcome. David Eby and the NDP will find us as partners if they are going to be doing things that are actually going to help people and help these problems we have in BC. If they're carrying forward with these destructive policies, I think they'll find us very obstructive.
But even before the legislature returns, there are cracks showing in the big tent party along ideological lines, social conservatives versus more moderate former BC United MLAs. And there are signs that some within the party have leadership ambitions.
Do you think Eleanor Sturckow has leadership ambitions? Do you think she's gunning for your job?
I would say that most MLAs, not all MLAs, Most MLAs, think at one time or another about whether they would like to be in a leadership role. But I fully expect there's going to be people that are interested in it, and that's normal in a caucus.
Rustad says he intends to do things differently. He's pledged not to whip his MLAs into voting as a unified bloc.
I think the public expects a political party to reflect who they are, and that's okay to have those differences.
One political analyst says that could expose further divisions.
Maybe that's one way to manage it. You don't coerce people into all assuming the same position. But then if you don't, it looks like the party is a party of not one party, but a party of multiple factions.
Rustad has created a new portfolio called Parental Rights and Sports. It's aimed at opposing sexual orientation and gender identity, or SOGI teaching materials in schools. Rustad's first question when he became Conservative Party leader was about the topic, prompting this exchange with Eby.
Shame on him. Choose another question.
To what extent do you think your party will focus on some of those social conservative issues like SOGI?
When people are not happy about what's going on with their children and wanting to understand and know this, it leads to people wanting to leave this province.
The challenge for Rustad, however, is whether focusing on these social conservative issues will cause further rifts within the upstart party. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
Earlier this year, hundreds of Okanagan wineries faced the possibility that this would be a year without wine. And that's because of a deep cold snap in January. As Tom Popick reports, the challenge meant some had to get extra creative to survive.
The view at Terra Vista Winery is still beautiful, but the vineyard...
There's some growth over here.
...still struggling after a bitter cold snap last January froze vines and chilled the future of hundreds of Okanagan wineries.
We have less than 1% crop of grapes this vintage, so we had to do something drastic.
Few grapes meant little could fill these tanks. For the family-owned boutique winery, 2024 could have been a year without a vintage and economically disastrous.
We had to be creative. We had to branch out and look at how to turn this thing upside down and do something positive.
So they pivoted to their specialty.
Albarino vines that were planted in 2008, the first Albarino planted in all of Canada.
Terra Vista is one of only 2 Canadian wineries growing the Spanish grape.
Really neat variety. I love to work with it. It's super aromatic, nice and crisp.
Instead of government handouts, industry lobbied the province to allow imports of American fruit and juice, and neighbors answered the call.
Definitely. Washington, California, they're like, we have a ton of beautiful fruit. We want to help you out.
Terra Vista partnered with a Northern California grower to import more Albarino grapes and make a series of wines that showcase different aspects of the varietal and their winemaking skills. Earlier this month, releasing the very first 2024 vintage in Canada, a light, fresh, sparkling wine just in time for the bubbly holidays. Terra Vista isn't the only winery turning obstacle to opportunity.
I've learned that we're a resilient industry.
Mark Sheridan's Hester Creek Winery took a different path, also sourcing American grapes, but visiting and working with growers there to get fruit as close as possible to their established brand's taste profile.
This is our 2022 judge.
His goal, year-over-year consistency for loyal customers.
The regulations that were brought in gave flexibility to wineries to really come up with a solution that suited them best.
As a board member of the Wine Growers of BC, Sheridan also worked with the wineries to properly label 2024 vintages, crafted in Canada but not grown. Since VQA labels can't be applied to foreign-sourced fruit, the industry pushed for quality controls. 2024 is becoming a year highlighting maturing Okanagan winemaking skills, not the valley soil.
So I truly believe that we will be a stronger industry when we come through this.
Still, the future is not assured. Import restrictions will be reimposed in 2025, and more than 20% of all vines in the valley didn't survive the cold. A massive replanting effort is underway, but new vines won't produce for at least 3 years.
So longer term, we're optimistic, and if we can nourish and take care of our vineyards on the Naramana Bench over the next couple of years, we should see a crop again.
The hope now that consumers will support local this season.
Cheers.
So there's finally something to celebrate in the new year. Tom Popick, CBC News, Kelowna.
right, Stephanie Hungerford joins us now with a first look at the weather. Stephanie, how's New Year's Eve looking? I know you're all ready, got your sequins on.
I do, just like you. We look so festive. Well, actually, the weather's looking quite beautiful for most of the province. We've got sunny across the board, except for the south coast. Victoria, you are going to see some rain tomorrow. Same with Vancouver, Cranbrook, a bit of snow, but the rest of the province, absolutely beautiful to ring in the new year. That won't last for long, though. However, there is a front moving in, mostly Friday, I would say, moves into Cranbrook, Kamloops, Prince George area. That's where the snow is going to fall, and this is going to last throughout the weekend. Rain, of course, for the lower mainland and also for Vancouver Island. Let's look at tonight and early tomorrow morning. It's 4 degrees, overnight rain, tomorrow afternoon showers, so pretty good in the morning for the polar bear swim.
All right, looks like that rain's just about to hold off, so thank you. And a large fire has destroyed part of the historic boardwalk in the Telegraph Cove on Vancouver Island. The Port McNeill Fire Department called it a devastating loss to the North Island.
Telegraph Cove has been our main tourism draw up here for many years. It's been a very successful family-run tourism operation and a very proud place for many, many North Islanders.
Crews said the fire was difficult to extinguish because it was burning underneath the boardwalk. The cause is still under investigation. And 5 cell phone towers now line Highway 16, also known as the Highway of Tears. The route is notorious for the number of Indigenous women and girls who have gone missing or have been found murdered along it. Mira Baines reports.
Advocates for Indigenous women and girls are marking a critical step in making the notorious Highway of Tears, or Highway 16, safer. 5 new cell phone towers have been built and will now provide coverage along the northern BC highway. Since 1969, more than 40 women and girls, mostly Indigenous, have gone missing or been murdered along the 700-kilometer stretch of highway.
I'm 7 times more likely to go missing or being murdered, and that's horrific.
The chilling statistics prompted families of missing and murdered Indigenous women and advocates to come up with ways to help prevent the deaths in 2006. The groups came up with 33 recommendations to make the area safer for vulnerable women.
Families, stakeholders, people in the north, what was required to stop our Indigenous women going missing, and one of the things was that they needed better access to communication.
Almost 20 years later, northern communities in the region will have cell phone service along the highway. It includes 5G coverage and expanded 911 access. Rogers Communications says the terrain was challenging, with 2 of the new towers built on the top of mountains using helicopters. For this community advocate, the shape of the towers is also significant in representing red dresses, symbolic of the national tragedy.
The look of those towers, having the red dress as part of the build, so that you could see the red dress wherever you are on the highway. It was really exciting that they listened to us.
$4.5 million in provincial and federal funds went towards the cellular infrastructure between Prince Rupert and Smithers, with the total cost of the installation being $11.6 million. TG says a lot more work needs to be done so that other recommendations become a reality, including better transportation and bus routes along the highway. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
It's been a big year for women's sports with the launch of several professional women's sports teams and the Professional Women's Hockey League wrapping up its inaugural season. Claire Palmer caught up with young hockey players to see what the PWHL means to them.
This is the moment Nanaimo's first ever female U11 Development A team won gold at their home tournament. And when these girls take the ice, they don't want to be like Bedard or Crosby.
My favorite hockey player is Sarah Nurse because she scores a lot of goals and is a really good hockey player. My favorite hockey player is Sarah Nurse and Natalie Spooner.
My favorite hockey player is Dara Gregg.
Women's hockey has been on the rise. According to Hockey Canada, female hockey registration hit an all-time high last season with over 100,000 athletes, almost 20% of all minor hockey players in the country. The Nanaimo Minor Hockey Association has also seen a spike, especially in the younger groups.
There's a lot of
female hockey players coming up from the younger age groups, which if we can set them up for success now, building these programs and things like that will just build in the future for these girls.
Schneider says she wants to see her daughter, who plays on the development team, have better opportunities than she did. She says the PWHL is playing an integral role.
Growing up, you always wanted to cheer for the females, and I'm a diehard Haley Wickenheiser fan. But you had to wait for the Olympics. For them to have a professional league to idolize these players is just something so cool for these girls to have.
PWHL teams Montreal Victoire and Toronto Scepters will be playing to a sold-out crowd at Rogers Arena on January 8th, and several of these players found out they were going on Christmas morning.
The Women's Hockey League jersey. And giving my daughter her jersey. She's got her Montreal jersey on Christmas morning. She woke up and opened it, and she was just over the moon, and she has not stopped talking about it since. So it was probably my favorite Christmas gift this year.
It's really exciting because maybe this could be me someday.
The success in the PWHL helping younger players to dream big. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Nanaimo.
Well, you might know babies named Oliver or Olivia. Those names took the top spots for the 2024's most popular baby names in BC. This is all according to the Vital Statistics Agency's preliminary figures for this year. Oliver is followed by Olivia, Liam, Noah, Theodore, and rounding up the list are also Charlotte, Lucas, Isla, Amelia, and Leo. Now, as of Monday, December 16th, just over 38,000 babies were registered as born in BC this year. And still to come, as the new year approaches, we're almost 25 years on from the turn of the millennium. We take a look at how British Columbians prepared for Y2K. That's next. And as we count down to the new year, we are marking 25 years since Y2K and the turn of the century. It was an anxious time for some, with worries that when the date changed from 1999 to 2000, computers would crash and the world would essentially descend into chaos. Well, here are some of the questions people had and what BC experts were saying they should do.
The millennium bug is a hot topic of conversation these days, and as we tick away towards the year 2000, everyone wants to know doomsday scenario or status quo.
My question is, next time I fly over somewhere like China or Russia where they have computerized air traffic control systems, are they going to have the bug worked out, or am I just going to find myself flying into things?
Leonard Trisco is with the province's Action 2000 squad. His job is to make sure everything is tickety-boo in BC when clocks strike midnight next New Year's Eve.
If you're going to take air travel, then I would get on a plane at least a week or two before the change in the millennium, and I'd schedule my return date a week or two past the change in the millennium. And that's mainly due to the unknown traffic control status in a lot of the foreign countries.
When people tell you that airplanes will be falling out of the sky, that's not true.
When the year 2000 comes, I want to know if my computer is going to mess up or something.
The recommendations would be basically to shut your computer down on December 31st. Okay, do a backup of whatever is important to you. Okay, roll over into January 1st, fire up your computer, and see what date it has as an operational date.
From your health to your relationships, what are your New Year's resolutions? That's coming up after the break.
This holiday season, give the gift of live local music. Road to the Junos tickets are available now. Head to cbc.ca/Junos and get yours before they're all gone.
All right, let's take another look at your BC-wide weather forecast. Stephanie Hungerford joins us now. What can we expect heading into a fresh new year, Stephanie?
Well, for the last 12 hours, it's actually been just a light cloud cover, which has made for an absolutely beautiful New Year's for a lot of the province tomorrow. You can see there's sun almost across the entire province, a little bit of rain in the lower mainland and on the island, some snow for Cranbrook, but for the rest of the province, looking really nice to ring in the new year. That's not going to last for long, though. Come Friday, we're going to see another front coming in, lots of snow for the interior, Kootenays, way up north, Prince George, Fort Nelson. And we are going to see some lower temperatures rather for Fort Nelson, Dease Lake. They're going to get really low as of tomorrow, and then also Friday as well, -28. So a little bit chilly there. Warming up though for Vancouver when it comes to the weekend. So that will be a little bit milder weather for us. For the 5-day forecast, Metro Vancouver, tomorrow rain in the afternoon. Sunny, very beautiful tomorrow for the polar bear swim. For those of you who want to take a little bit of dip, your ocean temperature, I looked that up. It is going to be 7 degrees, so a little bit warmer than your daytime weather outside of the water, which will be actually kind of nice for most people.
Awesome, thank you.
2025 is around the corner, and with a new year come new resolutions.
So we asked Vancouverites what their goals are going into 2025.
For next year, I think I'll try to be more productive, try to avoid procrastination.
This year, we're going to make a big push to just like go the month of January, no alcohol.
Exercise.
To be more sympathetic. I'm not a very sympathetic person sometimes, so I gotta work on that.
Saving more money for my future as well.
Less workaholic and more stuff that is more for the inside, for the soul type of thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, I just don't want to be chasing the almighty buck anymore. So hopefully that ends this year.
What we do is we write down all the things we want to achieve or do or change, and then we get our teenage kids to put it in like an artboard, and then we've got that in the house somewhere that we walk past and see all the time to sort of keep looking at and make sure the year we're ticking off the things that we wanted to do.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch us, this newscast, on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube and our website, cbc.ca/BC.
And you can continue to watch CBC's coverage of New Year's on our special on CBC News Network, CBC Gem, and on the radio. Dan Burton and I will be following the festivities tonight in Vancouver. Have a happy new year.